What's up, horror fans? Ho, ho, ho. We are coming into the Christmas time, and it's time to talk about murdering innocent people so that we can maybe conjure a demon. Oh, Danny's got a sexy, evil Santa shirt on. Which one? That's that movie,
This
what?
this is my new Gutter Garbs shirt. That's Larry Drake from the Tales from the Crypt episode and All Through the House, where he plays the killer Santa Claus. One of my all-time favorite Tales from the Crypt episodes, and I figured perfect for a holiday horror edition because the movie we're covering today is a holiday horror film.
Yes, yes. And it's made by people that you know, right?
It's made by people that I have associated with. I would, very good people who I've gotten a chance to meet and hang out with a few times, and they're awesome people and they're better filmmakers, which I think is or maybe they're good filmmakers and better people, but they're definitely those things.
Nice. Well, okay, so for the sacrifice game, the people behind it, right? You've met in person. Who's the director? It's Jen Wexler.
Yeah, so Jen Wexler is the director. This is, I believe, her second feature. She did The Ranger, which came out a couple of years ago, which my cousin worked on, and I got to go to a screening of. And I actually interviewed the Jen Wexler for Geeks of Doom years ago. She's super cool, and her co-writer, Sean Redlitz, I have known also for a long time. He used to work for Shudder. He's awesome guy. Did a great job co-writing this script with Jen. The producer, Heather Buckley, is somebody I've known peripherally for a long time as well. So it was nice to. I saw this for the first time at Brooklyn Horror Film Festival, where this was the closing film. This closed out the festival at the Nighthawk Williamsburg, and it was a great night. They did a little Q&A after, and then I got to see it last week again, right before its big debut on Shudder at IFC in Manhattan, where it was part of the Shudder Showcase. I've seen a whole bunch of Shudder Showcase movies now. It's this really awesome monthly series that the IFC Center has done. I saw Bad Things there. I saw It's a Wonderful Knife, Hell House Origins, The Carmichael Manor, and now The Sacrifice Game. And they had a pretty packed house. They did a full Q&A with the director, the co-writer, the producer, and one of the stars of the film, Chloe Levine, was also there. I actually recorded that, and it is up on our channel now. I will say, in a caveat, don't watch that video until you watch The Sacrifice Game on Shudder, because they go right into spoilers. They talk about the ending, which we will do, but we will also give you a spoiler warning when we do that. So
Yeah.
I recommend watching that Q&A, but only if and after you watch The Sacrifice Game, which premiered on Shudder last night. No, that's not true. It premiered on Shudder last Friday. Last night, though, Joe Bob was back with his holiday special, and The Sacrifice Game's trailer played between the movies, which is pretty awesome.
Oh, hell yeah.
So we spent a lot of time with a little bit of introduction. I want to get to the meat and potatoes of this.
Uh-oh.
I just want to know what you thought of the movie. You've
Okay.
held me in suspense.
Okay. So I okay. I was trying to think of the best way to put this, because I know that you like the people that are connected to this movie, and that you have seen it and you like it a lot. For me, I actually do like this movie. I didn't want to make you think I don't like it. At first, I wasn't totally pulled in, because I think that the thing that was bothering me is let's just kind of give a basic summary, just to kind of put some context to this. But there's essentially this group of killers that goes around and they kill innocent people, and they're kind of the main focus. It kind of cuts back between them and then these two girls at Black Veil Academy, right? And the killers, there's this really great sequence in the beginning of the movie where they just walk into a person's house. There's this couple, they were listening to some carolers, Christmas carolers. The carolers leave. Then this group walks up to them and just like stabs the husband in the throat and then goes to kill the wife. And you kind of hear a lot of screaming off screen. And then you see them like kind of rip open her clothes and stab her. And it's this really kind of jarring, upsetting scene. I was like, oh, this is going to be
And
intense.
it's done, the way it's done in like that almost Halloween-esque one take is so cool. I love that opening shot.
Right. That's a really good comparison right there. And then and it has a lot of like vibes like that early 70s vibes. I always, when we do our reviews, I always want to kind of learn more about like cinematography and the terms that are used, because there's some kind of effect or some kind of tint on the actual film itself that makes it feel like it was made in the 70s, right? And I love that. I love the aesthetic. It feels like it was a 1970s horror movie, right? I like that. The thing that was starting to turn me off is the more time we spent with those killers, there's less mystique about them and stuff, and it's more like they're literally telling us about themselves. And I felt like they were a little over the top, especially the main guy, like the main killer guy. I was like, all right. I kept thinking to myself, like how are they like this evil? It's like too much. Like they're like too evil, and they're kind of telling you how evil they are, and that's like too much for me. But then once you find out, and here's the spoiler, that essentially they're doing this ritual because the one girl has figured out that they can unlock this demon or release this demon, then it kind of clicks into place, and then I was all on board from there. So I wouldn't say like I loved this movie throughout, but I really liked the beginning. I started to kind of pull away in the middle, and then from the end on, especially when there's this reveal at the end, then I was really on board.
So let me ask you a question, and we'll put a spoiler warning out there now. Did you see the end coming?
Not immediately, but I kind of suspected it at first. And then like I wasn't like, oh, this is gonna happen. But it does reach a point where I'm like, oh, this is what's gonna happen. Yeah.
Okay, because the first time I saw it, I didn't see it coming until they make it obvious. And I was like, oh, how did I not see that coming? And then the second time I saw it, and I saw it with my friend Jared, who does the Puppet Masters Castle Freaks podcast. And we both said we liked this movie a lot the first time we saw it, but we really fucking liked it a lot more the second time. That it gets better with multiple viewings. And the one thing I'll say about this is it's holiday themed. It takes place over Christmas. This is definitely one of those movies where I could see myself throwing into. I'm going to be probably including this in my like annual. It's December. We need to watch horror movies. Set along with like Black Christmas and Gremlins and Krampus and all those other good stuff, holiday films. So the second time I watched it, I liked it a lot more, and it does play with you a little bit in the sense of like, oh, of course this, and oh, look that now I understand that this makes so much more sense. Okay, I get it. Yeah. And the other thing that I noticed more the second time, and again, this is probably bolstered by the fact that Charlotte just spent a weekend filming her first short horror film,
right,
is just how unbelievably great the lead girl, but really both of the girls at Black Veil are, but the main girl in the film.
Clara is the one. So this girl, when you're gonna go talk about her, every time I look at her, I always think that she just looks like Linda Blair with short hair, right?
Well, I mean, this was her first movie. They gave her an introducing credit,
Yeah.
And she's like not much older than Charlotte or Pepper, and she kills it in this movie. I
Yeah.
mean, she's unbelievable. You have the actress's name there, right?
Oh, yeah. So for Clara, Jesus Christ, I'm clicking on the tab. Sorry. Clara's name is Georgia Akin.
Georgia Akin, that's right. She was there in person for Brooklyn Horror Film Festival, and she's like, she really just looks like a kid, and like
Yeah.
as somebody who has a kid who's not far from her age, I was
Right.
like, "Oh, you were amazing," and she was like, "Oh my god, thank you so much." And
Ah,
it's like,
that's so cute. I mean,
yeah,
I think it's a kind of a compliment to say that she looks like Linda Blair from like she looks like Linda Blair from The Exorcist, just with like short hair. And I kept thinking, I was like, damn, she looks like Linda Blair. And it's so appropriate considering here's the twist that like the demon that these Christmas killers or holiday killers are trying to release has been living at this school, this boarding school that the movie takes place at, right? So
yeah,
it's Blackville Academy. She's been living there for ages and essentially sort of clouding the minds of the people that go to school there and work there. And then these killers are basically doing what they can to release this demon and get its power. Little do they know that one of the girls they're terrorizing is the demon.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of the reveal because I just when you've seen as many horror movies as I've seen, if you can trick me or if you have a twist that I don't see coming, I
Right.
just give you credit as a writer and as a director. So kudos to, Sean and Jen for
Right.
writing that twist.
Right.
Um so Jen, I've heard her say this now a couple different times in a couple different Q&As
Okay.
that this movie for her was Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets Last House on the Left. And I
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
and her and Sean Redlich were very much, as you said, this movie feels like a 70s horror movie. And
Yeah.
they are very like open to that. Yes, we wanted this to feel 70s. And when you take those things together, I think it just like you're like, oh, Buffy meets Last House on the Left. That's exactly what this is. That opening scene you described is so horrific, and the things that these characters do are so awful and off-putting that like there's never a time that you can root for these characters. There's never a time where you're going to root for um for this cult of serial killers.
Yeah.
By the way, did you realize that the leader of them is the guy who plays Aladdin in Disney's Aladdin? Because I didn't realize that until the second time I saw it, and that is a massive character change to go from Aladdin to like leader of a like serial killing cult is
Yes.
freaking crazy.
Yeah, I think that you mentioned it while we were hanging out at Applebee's like last or 2 weeks ago, or whatever. So
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I didn't even remember it when I was watching the movie, and then just looking him up now, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, he's Aladdin. But
yeah,
honestly, he's the biggest star in the movie because of that. And he's actually the thing that I have the biggest problem with, because I feel like he's like so over the top and he's like kind of so obvious of like, I'm gonna have the power. And like, when it's like, the one teacher, she's got her boyfriend and they're gonna propose, and he kind of will, say like, okay, well now you're gonna get on your knees and propose to her. It's like, he's doing like all these things. It's like, why are you being so evil? And when you realize that they're doing it because they want to get this demon, and that like the demon's been talking to Macy, who's played by Olivia Scott Welch, like it kind of makes more sense. But you mentioned something earlier that like you've seen so many horror movies that you can kind of predict how it's going to go. For me, it's like I knew that there would be comeuppance for the villains because like they're just so over the top, especially him, that it's like, okay, they're real bastards. There's going to be like a flip. And that was where my brain was going. I was like, well, how are they going to do the flip? At first, and this part I'll say is a twist for me, is that like I thought that the teacher was going to somehow break free and she was going to help the girls and that they would maybe take them out like one by one, like maybe like Die Hard style, like kind of one by one they would take out the killers. But then they just go ahead and like stab the teacher. And that's kind of the going into the third act moment.
Yeah.
You know,
Because that's also a major moment in the movie of like, oh my God, like I thought she was gonna be in this movie. That actually is like a running joke at the Q&A because Chloe Levine, who plays the teacher, she was the lead in The Ranger by Jen
okay.
Wexler. So she got her butt whipped in The Ranger a lot. And now here she gets her like butt whipped a lot. And like they were making like a joke that Heather Buckley, the producer, said that Chloe is Jen's Ash, like Bruce Campbell, where she's just going to bring her into every movie so that she could just, slam her head into mashed potatoes and have her like stabbed repeatedly.
Yeah.
I do want to say though, what's the actor who plays Aladdin, who's like the leader of the gang?
Yeah. So, okay. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing it right. It's Mena Masood or Mina Masood. MENA.
Yes. So he is for me. I don't mind when an actor goes over the top.
Right.
If the story demands it, and I felt that he was great as a like just despicable. Like Last House on the Left. If you go back and watch the original Last House on the Left, the leader of that gang, he feels very similar to him. And then there's the flip where they finish the ritual and they're expecting like the demon to show itself.
Yes.
And he just starts going on this, I'm the demon.
Right.
And for me, I loved it. Because it's so over the top that it became almost funny.
Right.
And at that point in the movie, it was okay for the audience to like have a cathartic laugh at that character. Because now, like you said, now it's comeuppance time.
Right.
And so now we are kind of supposed to laugh at that character who's about to die a horrible death. And I also liked at the same time, I thought, one of my favorite parts of the movie was the kind of comic relief villain as well.
Yeah, right. Doug.
Doug, who
played by Laurent Pitre or Pitre. Pitre.
Yeah.
Laurent Pitre.
They said in the Q&A that they looked for somebody to basically be a young Steve Buscemi. And when you hear that, it's like, oh, he feels like Mr. Pink in Reservoir Dogs, but only more pathetic.
I feel like he looks a little bit like young Scorsese too. Or no. I'm so full of shit. What's the name of the actor that's Fredo from the fucking?
Oh yes. Oh my God, I know exactly what you're talking about. Young Fredo. Yeah.
That's what he looks like.
He was only in 5 movies. All 5 of them were nominated for Best Picture, and then he died tragically of like cancer in the late 70s. Or early 80s. Is John Savage? John
Cazale. John Cazale.
John Cazale.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean that's who he looks like, which that kind of works. Like that's the thing. I want to give kudos to the casting director of this movie because you cast this demon-possessed girl that looks like Linda Blair. Then you cast this guy that looks like John Cazale as one of he's kind of like the shrimpy henchman in this movie. This is a really good casting. Then you have this guy who's like this war vet who's part of their team, this guy Grant. And then Olivia Scott Welsh as like the girlfriend who's having these visions. She has that kind of 70s look.
Which is why she was great in did you ever watch the Fear Street movies?
Fuck yeah. I love those movies.
Oh yeah, we covered those. We've been doing this for a while. I don't remember everything. But yeah, she was one of the leads in the Fear Street trilogy. And I thought that like she it felt like and I know it's just stupid because obviously movies get made in different times, but like she was playing a teenager in the Fear Street movies. And here she's playing an adult who, like young, probably in her mid-20s, and she just looks like she grew up so much, and she like really good.
Yeah.
She got like like it feels like she's building like a pretty good horror cred. Chloe Levine also, like, to go from The Ranger, where she was like a punk teenager, to now like she's a teacher,
Yeah.
who's
Boarding school.
looking
Yeah.
over these kids.
Mm-hmm.
uh it very, it feels like these actors who don't feel very old but are growing up and like building their horror creds, which is awesome to see.
Yeah. I think like Fear Street was only like 2 years ago too, right?
It came out in 2021. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Anything, basically anything noteworthy that's come out in the past 3 years, like you pretty much discussed with me on here, you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, I didn't even fucking make that connection that she's that girl that's in the first Fear Street and then she's in the third Fear Street too. I didn't even make that connection. But like that's a really great example because like the 70s horror, like filmmakers nowadays must have a real appreciation for 70s horror because they do a really good job of emulating the look of it and the feel of it. Like there's that one Fear Street part that's in the 70s that looks like a 70s horror movie.
That was the
Uh,
second one. Yeah.
right. There's this. There was something else I was watching recently too, but like I'd love that feeling, that kind of grimy feeling, and this movie does a really great job of capturing that. I was gonna say that, like, for me, what I really like is the idea that because I want to talk about like story wise, you've been kind of talking about the cast and the look and stuff, but story wise, what I really like is that the ritual to free the demon at first requires the slaughter or the killing of innocents, but then the flip of it is that you have to kill the guilty or whatever, or like the corrupt or whatever. And so it's like you kill innocent people in the beginning, gets the audience to hate the killers, then to get their comeuppance, you have to kill the guilty. So I thought that was like a really clever way to just kind of flip the movie and make it make sense with the ritual.
Yeah, I agree. And I also like that the other girl who's left at the school,
Yeah.
she her story is basically like her mom died, her stepdad like basically just decides to leave her there, and
Yeah.
so she's
Samantha is the girl's name.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah, and she, like, her and Clara form this like weird bond where like there's a ton of awkward stuff between them, and then there's this great moment where they're in the basement and she's like, I'm gonna drink some vodka, and she has like this like and then she gives the bottle to Clara, who's like played by like a 13-year-old girl, and she's like, yep, and she's like pounding the vodka.
Yeah.
um I I'm telling you, so I'm glad you did like this movie, but I would definitely recommend rewatching it, maybe with Pepper, because she's about the age to watch this movie. I mean, aside from a little bit of gore, there's not like really
Yeah.
nothing I would say is too bad. But I take that back. There's the one scene with the priest where I was like, oh,
Yeah.
when they
Yeah.
do a little skin mutilation.
Yes.
But for me, this movie got better. It got so much better upon the second viewing.
Okay.
Um, in part because I knew what was going to happen, so I could kind of like piece together. It's kind of like when you watch The Usual Suspects for the second time, and you're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
come on! How did I not notice that? Of course, look at stupid."
All right.
And I really, uh, when Charlotte's birthday weekend is over and I have some free time, we're gonna watch this on Shudder,
Yeah.
because I think this is. I also like just for me also the inspiration of like having just watched Charlotte do a movie, a short horror film that hopefully will be coming out sometime next year.
Right.
But to see a performance from a young star like Georgia Akin in like her first role, I was just friggin' blown away by her performance. And I really like, this is not a movie that you would ever think franchise,
Mm-hmm.
but there's part of me that like really wants to see where her and Samantha's story goes.
Yeah.
And like you can do all sorts of like tonal shifts where it's like it's the next movie's not even a horror movie. It's just like a spring break comedy with these two characters. Um, she also has this dance sequence in the movie
Yeah. Oh
that
yeah, yeah.
felt very much like the Wednesday dance sequence, and I feel
Sure.
like if
Sure.
more people saw this, they would like it. That could become like a viral hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like really rooting for this movie to do well. And like it closed out Brooklyn Horror, and it had a really great night at IFC for the Shudder showcase. I think it's doing well on Shudder right now. So you know, and this cast and crew is one that I plan on following where whatever they do and wherever they make movies. So I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of them.
No, I am too. I am too. And you bring up that dance part, which I actually really like that sequence. This is going back to what I was saying about before, where I would like just knew a little bit more about tones, terms for filmmaking, because like it does this like kind of quick cutting where it cuts between like her dancing and being with the military vet guy, and then like the couple in the library looking around, and that kind of cutting back and forth, and then like it like fades in and out of her and the couple, and it just really feels like it's a 70s movie during that particular sequence, and they're playing this cool like trippy song while she's dancing. I really like that stuff a lot. um and then like I was just gonna say, the way like like when she becomes a demon, it's pretty subtle for the most part. Like her eyes change, but they only like her pupils just get bigger. They're not like these black eyes or red eyes. So I like how it's like subtle. I mean, she does kind of like float and fly at the end. One of the things I really like about the twist is you have this sort of side story where her friend she's able to make it out and call the police and then get back into the building. And so after seeing so many movies, you kind of think, okay, well, what's going to happen to the friend? Because the friend really cares about her by the end of the movie. And it's like, and the friend doesn't realize she's a demon. So is the friend going to come back and she's going to kill the friend? Is she going to do something horrible to the friend? But then it actually has this kind of optimistic ending where the friend realizes she's a demon. She actually completes the ritual for her to escape, which involves killing one of the final killer. Um, and the demon doesn't do something horrible to her. Like you kind of expect the demon to do something horrible because it's a demon, but then she has this kind of look on her face like she appreciates her. And I think that is kind of a twist in itself. So there's a few twists. There's the main obvious twist of, oh, the demon's been here all along and it's in this girl. Then there's the twist of, oh shit, they killed the teacher. I thought the teacher was going to be around for a while. And then
Yeah.
there's the twist of they don't kill the friends. Like the friend, us black veil girls have to stick together, and it kind of pays off at the end. So
I
so I
also really
go ahead.
like the whole scene with the where like they set it up where Maisie walks in. She's like, "Do I know you? Did you have an older sister that went here?" And then they like go back and they look at all the old photographs and they see that Clara has been there for like hundreds of years, like
Yeah.
going back. Um, and that a scene like that, anytime you look at old photographs, I think of like the scene in The Others with Nicole
Oh
Kidman,
yes,
where they
yes, yes.
show how like the dead bodies and they would take photographs of the dead bodies. I always think, of course, of The Omen, which is based on like photographs and how, and so I like anything that involves old photographs because it, again, I think like stuff like that in horror movies forces the viewer to be vigilant and forces the viewer to watch all the parts of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's, and I'm guilty of this too. This is why I've been to the movie theater 97 times this year so far. Um, because the movie theater is the one place that I am guaranteed that I will, unless it's Napoleon and I completely don't want to watch that movie,
Oh
I'm
wow.
going to put my phone down. I'm going to turn my phone off and I'm going to focus on the screen. Because if I'm at home it's just there's too much around. There's,
Right.
and I credit Mike Flanagan with making with because of his Netflix series, especially the first two Haunting series with all the hidden ghosts, like really forcing you to like watch every corner of every part of the screen because you never know where there's going to be something watching you. But yeah, I liked that this movie felt like, you kind of have to watch everything because everything turns out to kind of be important. From like the symbol to like even there's like when she goes down to the basement, she finds Clara standing over the book, and that turns out to be the book that, and like you don't really put that two and two together until you watch it for a second time.
I see.
Um,
I see.
when you post this, you should post like Sacrifice Game Review spoiler warning because we're talking a lot about the spoilers. But yeah, it's
Sure.
uh, I I I definitely ended up. I would say I love this movie on the second time, liked it a lot on the first time, and I'm really excited to introduce it to Charlotte because I think that it's got a lot of stuff that, Charlotte has seen a lot of the movies that we're talking about. And I think that uh, it's something that she would enjoy, and it's great to see a young actress. Both of the young actresses in this movie are great, but Georgia Akin, first feature film role, to be like as dominating on screen as she is friggin' amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? Talking about it with you has made me appreciate it even more too. So, yeah, guys, go check out the Sacrifice Game. We know you all have a Shudder account. This is your chance to go watch it before Christmas. Danny, do you have any Christmas presents lined up for our viewers?
Yeah, I am I'm almost finished with There's Something in the Barn.
Oh,
This is a new horror film that I just randomly found on scrolling through the new releases on Vudu. I rented it. Martin Starr takes his family to Norway and they battle barn
Stan.
elves.
Oh
Um,
my God.
yeah,
Jesus.
it's shockingly fun. I'll probably post a short review of that sometime this week.
Okay.
Um, and I can't really talk much about Sprinkles, which is the movie that Charlotte made.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
but I'm just very excited. And I want to just publicly shout out thank you to the director of that, who was Deanna Buggs, and my cousin Adam Torkel. He co-wrote the script, came up with the story. The cast and crew of that were absolutely fantastic people. I'm Charlotte had such a blast. She left the house after 20 hours in 2 days. And she was like, and she woke up the next morning and all she could say was, that was amazing. I had so much fun. so,
Yeah.
you know, I'm just very happy about that. So yeah, I'll probably have a couple more shorts coming up. I'm dying to get to see this new Emma Stone movie, Poor Things,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I don't think it's a horror movie. It looks more like a period drama, but there also seems to be a Frankenstein element to the movie,
Y-
which
Yeah.
will give me the leeway I need to cover it maybe and put it up as a short.
Sure, why
Uh,
not?
yeah. So yeah, it's holiday season, so we're always looking for some good holiday horror. And we'll probably, you know, and yeah, as far as we just have to finish up our movies. I know everybody usually gets their year-end rankings up now. Pete and I, we try to really watch. This is our time to like finish the movies we haven't seen, and
Yeah.
then we usually wait until probably I would say maybe mid-January, and then we
Yeah.
put up our best of 2023.
Right.
That way we feel like we've included most of the movies that we missed.
Yeah.
So that is something to look forward to in the new year. I already have my first movie theater planned for 2024. I'm going to see the new horror film Night Swim
Oh yeah. I saw
I
the
got
trailer for that.
a I got a
Yeah,
screener I got a screener pass for that
yeah.
in the city, so I'll be going right after work on I think my first day back to work.
Oh
I'll
my
be heading
God.
into the city to see that. So I can't wait for that. And yeah, you know, just another year, final 2023, the year that Pete and I actually met in person.
Mm-hmm.
So what
Great
can I?
experience. I'm still living off the high of that. That was a good one, man.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
But if y'all like mine and Danny's interactions, make sure that you are subscribed to the Lasser Cast. I also have another channel, Comic Books Transformed, where another friend that was at that get together. Actually, two of the friends are at that get together. Brian and Mike Bongiorno. They are on that channel often. Me and Mike are talking about Doctor Who, and Brian and I have been covering the DC animated Tomorrowverse movies. So if you like me at all, go over there to Comic Books Transformed too and check that out. But of course, Danny's always putting up videos on this channel. And we will see you guys next week. We are still covering Monarch. That's what we'll cover next week. And then whatever new horror movie that Danny wants to talk about, you'll see too. We will see you guys real soon.